It's a crucial moment in crypto. The market keeps swinging, I know, but unless you're a short term trader, it doesn't matter because what's happening on a macro global level points to a world moving onto crypto rails and integrating with crypto tech itself. So don't pay attention to the immediate chart. We're still calibrating after the largest shakeout we saw in history of $19 million in leveraged positions erased and $380 billion wiped from total market value. It's all natural because remember, the market is alive and it's comprised of all its participants' emotions, and the majority of the time, it's comprised of emotionally backed decisions. It's important to remember that even though we saw this huge shakeout, $500 billion flooded back into the crypto market almost immediately after our steep correction. And frankly, there are too many global governments, corporations, and institutional holders for them to let Bitcoin tank, in my opinion, but that's a separate conversation. Regardless, we have to remember fundamentals. We have to remember Bitcoin is digital gold, and that even during these unstable times, giant financial players and entire nations are wiring the next version of the financial system directly onto crypto rails. That's key to remember during times like this because they wouldn't do this if they thought Bitcoin and the crypto market was doomed or a waste. The charts tell us a story of cleanup, not one of collapse. And right now, short-term moves are driven more by technical magnets and future gaps than they are by panic selling. That cleanup is lining up with some of the biggest macro shifts we've seen since 2020. So by the end of this video, you'll understand where the volatility is coming from, how it connects to global power moves, and why this moment could define the foundation of the next financial era. So let's get started. First, we see ETF outflows over the past few days have shown short-term defensiveness, not structural damage. Traders are taking profits, reducing risk, of course, and waiting for new clarity. The recent dip filled almost all of Bitcoin's CME future gap between 111,000 and 109,000. That gap acted like a technical magnet, pulling prices lower after the bounce. And just as a quick recap, CME gaps are simply price zones left behind when future markets close on weekends. And Bitcoin has a long history of revisiting them before resuming a trend. So that is what we are seeing reflected in the market price right now. And as I was saying in my intro, that move down, this move down we're seeing was expected and is part of the market's natural reset after such extreme volatility we all saw happen on Friday and throughout the weekend. Bitcoin is now trading inside a short-term battle range with 109,700 acting as support and 119,800 acting as resistance. And according to Glassnode, over 90% of Bitcoin's supply remains in profit. So we see conviction has stayed strong, even as the leverage has been cleared. Every major bull cycle has included 20 to 50% corrections. Remember, it's easy to forget when you're caught in the storm. That's why I'm here to paint the big picture for you so you can see where we are in light of history. That said, historically, those dips have set the stage for bigger expansions once the air clears. And if we take a look at options data, it still shows defensive positioning amongst institutional desks. When that CME gap fully closes and funding stabilizes, the market structure resets, and that is what we can expect. So that is the final step we need to be watching for before momentum can rebuild. Now let's talk about what's going on a macro level because while crypto cools off, the bigger story is unfolding in politics and economics. President Trump and President Xi from China are scheduled to meet in South Korea from October 31st to November 1st during the APEC form. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent confirmed that lines of communication remain open. Tensions have eased, he said, and the 100% tariff threat does not have to happen. As I was saying in my yesterday's video, and I've been saying throughout all of my videos, these announcements we hear in the media are negotiation tactics. So we cannot take them at face value. They are basically conversation starters, to put it that way. Although I will say governments know how these announcements, especially when poised against their enemies, quote unquote, or competitors, they know how that's going to affect the market on both sides. So there is something to it. It's more than a conversation starter. They are often retaliation tactics or designed to hurt their opponent or bring their opponent to the table after instilling fear. But let's keep going, because China's Commerce Ministry responded by saying they hope the United States will solve issues through talks. So we see both sides are signaling negotiation rather than escalation. And behind the scenes, the United States has already drafted countermeasures in case talks fail, which would only be smart, of course. And some of these precautionary measures are taking include posing export license requirements for software sent to China, which I think is a good idea anyway, since they've had a history of copying or straight up stealing our tech. But once again, that's a conversation for a different video. And it seems policy volatility has replaced price volatility, for now anyway, because they do go in tandem. The point being, crypto continues to react faster than any other market. And that is a signal of strength, sometimes a double-edged sword, but overall a signal of strength. And one of crypto's main selling points, which is it never shuts down. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even after this last crash we saw, or steep correction, the crypto rails for the crypto market stood strong despite a few delays. It didn't matter. Crypto's tech showed how resilient it is. And global financial players, companies, countries, they are paying attention to this, as should you, and not be scared, therefore, of your crypto investments if they are in blue chips, which once again, I always invite you to let me know in the comment section what you are holding, and I will tell you if I think they're good or bad. And keep in mind, this is never financial advice. It's educational information. That said, let's put a pin in these topics and let's move over to talk about what's going on the institutional level and all this expansion I keep talking about. Because right now we see that BlackRock CEO Larry Fink recently said that more than 4.5 trillion in assets are now held in digital wallets across crypto, stablecoins, and tokenized instruments. And he expects the market to grow rapidly, he said. BlackRock is also developing its own proprietary technology for tokenization. So we know that is the future. Another reason crypto is not going anywhere. Next, we hear from JP Morgan's global head of markets and digital assets confirming that the bank is preparing to offer crypto trading services to its clients. While the firm remains cautious, of course, about custody, its involvement marks a major step towards mainstream adoption. And we even see that Circle behind USDC, one of the biggest stablecoins in the world, is expanding under new US stablecoin laws passed through the Genius Act. Analysts at Bernstein project that USDC's supply will nearly triple from 76 billion to 220 billion by 2027, so less than 2 years from now. Even sovereign nations are joining the movement, as I was saying earlier. Country of Bhutan is migrating its entire national ID system from Polygon to Ethereum, becoming the first country to anchor its identity on public blockchain. So this is no longer about crypto projects chasing institutions or a random nascent new market sector. The conversation has shifted globally. It's now about institutions and governments rebuilding the very infrastructure they operate onto that of blockchain rails. That said, let's talk about what's going on chain. Because right now, we see that Ethereum's growth continues to mirror the expansion of the global M2 money supply, which is basically all the liquid money in the system worldwide. And analysts estimate its fair value zone could reach between $8,000 and $10,000 by the first quarter of 2026. And institutional staking and ETF demand are adding new layers of support, turning ETH into a direct reflection reflection of global liquidity trends. And Solana is proving itself as one of the strongest networks under stress. When Ethereum and Layer 2 transaction fees spiked as high as $100 during this last crash we saw, Solana, on the other hand, their median fee stayed below 1 cent. It processed more transactions than Ethereum and all its layer twos combined that day. What a testament to beautiful tech. I'm so happy to hear they patched whatever was breaking their system before. Frankly, it was one of the question marks I had moving into this bull run cycle and into the future, was wondering, would Solana break again? Because it's done it in the past. So it's really, really beautiful to see that it was able to uphold itself, not break. It remained one of the cheapest blockchains and networks to operate on. So over the past 24 hours, Solana has led. It's been the leader of all chains and stablecoin inflows. Its decentralized apps we saw generated more than 18 million in weekly revenue, led by Pump Fun and Axiom. And Radium alone processed 1.75 billion in daily trading volume, proving that DeFi throughput is scaling to match that of traditional markets. So in a very weird way, not to undermine everyone's losses, since we know someone even took their own life when the market crashed, which I found so sad, and my heart goes out to his family. I forget where he's from, but the beauty of what happened and what it's demonstrated to the world is that crypto tech, crypto rails work, and that they are the future. Frankly, it has sent a resounding signal of strength to the biggest financial players of the world, which ultimately will continue to buy Bitcoin, continue to buy Ethereum, Solana. They'll continue creating different financial instruments around crypto tokens and DeFi, which ultimately will keep Bitcoin in the crypto market alive and going. And I still hold my position on believing that this bull run cycle, that the crypto market in general has broken away from its previous 4-year cycle. And I may be wrong, but I believe we've entered an exponential perma bull run. And there will be corrections along the way, which is why I never encourage anyone to leverage trade. I only encourage long-term blue chip investments, and only if you have extra dry powder or extra cash that you can completely afford to say goodbye to and not cry over. Sure, put that money into more volatile, riskier assets that could give you asymmetrical returns. You could make 100x on it, 200x on it, but that doesn't happen too often. And you have to live glued to whatever tokens you're holding. And I always recommend you go in, you go out. You do not want to round trip your investments when it comes to these volatile crypto tokens. That said, once again, if you're holding blue chips, okay, the Solanas, the Ondo, the Chainlink, the Sui type tokens of the world, you're fine. These are like owning Microsoft stock or Facebook or Amazon or Google in the early days. That's how you can compare them. So it doesn't matter if the market goes down temporarily because you're holding, the next blue chip infrastructure tokens and projects of the world. So that's okay. Anyway, liquidity never disappears. All it does is it migrates, it rolls over into whichever rails can clear it the fastest. And Solana's resilience during this last crash turned it into the primary testing ground for what many now call the internet's capital markets. Elon actually summed it up perfectly when he said, Bitcoin is based on energy. You can issue fake fiat or fake money currency all over the world, and every government in history has done so. But it's impossible to fake energy, he said. And I agree, it only makes sense. Bitcoin is the first monetary system built on an energy foundation rather than a political one. It's truly money by and for the people. Unadulterated, no one can manipulate it. It's pure. And we hear from Raoul Paul, another global macro investor I respect a lot, stating, and I repeat, I said this yesterday, but it's important to really capture this. He says, if tomorrow's world, just think about it, is more digital than today's, the rest is just headlines, it's just noise. And that's the same principle at work here. The shakeout we saw was a stress test for belief systems, and Bitcoin passed again. It held its structure. The network stayed up, and conviction never faded. Actually, people bought more, those that know. So between the combination of energy, transparency, and digital property, these combined are what gives crypto its staying power. It's no longer about speculation. It's about survival in a system that is evolving faster than most people realize. And if you're here watching my channel, then you know you have this upper hand. And my prayer and hope would be you don't waste it, but be very methodical, stay plugged in, keep studying, and know what you're holding so you're not shaken when the market is shaken. So as we close out today, remember, we may be approaching the point where the system can no longer turn back. From volatility to diplomacy, from ETF delays to billion-dollar tokenization, every sign continues to point and move in the same direction. The financial world appears to be migrating onto crypto rails. Every nation, institution, and investor is watching how this new infrastructure performs under pressure. And each test makes it stronger. As I was saying, what we just went through was a double-edged sword. We suffered. A lot of people lost money. Hopefully it was a lesson for them not to over leverage. But the truth is, it was a beautiful demonstration of crypto's tech to the world. And that is what I believe fundamentally sustains our bags. The future of money isn't waiting for approval anymore. It's already live, coded, validated, and moving on chain. This is the time to stay ready. The next wave of this market will reward those who keep learning, as I was saying, staying disciplined, and positioned early while everyone else hesitates. So paying attention to what I've shared in the last 2 days, I'd encourage you to go watch my video from yesterday if you missed it, where I break down what happened exactly, what was behind this crash. Because the ecosystems, which I covered towards the end of yesterday's video, the ecosystems that bounced back the fastest and proved themselves, as I went over today with Solana, that is your clue as to which ecosystems will do good both this cycle and into the future. So that's it for today's video. Remember to stay plugged in, stay focused on the data. Don't be swayed by what you see in the media. Do not over leverage. I will be the one channel that will be telling you that. And share this video with a friend or family member that also wants to learn and know what's going on, because those who get into Bitcoin and crypto now, select blue chip tokens once again, will be the next top 1% of the world. So this is your golden opportunity. This is my golden opportunity. It's the golden opportunity for our friends and families to transform their finances and secure their legacy. So I love you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys here in my video tomorrow. Ciao.